Well, let's get into air control. We've had teachers ask, how do you teach students to control their air properly instead of just telling them to play softly in order to avoid sounding bad? It's the tendency of kids, I think, and sometimes tendency of band directors to just tell them lower it a little bit so they're not driving everybody else nuts. So teach us a little bit about air control and maybe even just that avoiding the squawking.
Sure. Well, with the assumption that the reed is functioning, that we can get a crow and the reed's making good sound, it's allowing the reed to vibrate is going to allow you to have a good sound on the bassoon. And I think Lynne will probably agree with this, particularly with younger players, but I think in general, getting a wonderful sound at piano is harder for most folks than doing it at forte. In particular, because it's frequently difficult to explain to a youngster how to have a focus sound when playing softly. So when I'm working with younger students, I'm working on getting a good sound at a louder volume first so that they know what that feels like in order to be able to get one softer. So I'm a huge fan of very unsophisticated long tones at first, which is taking a good full capacity breath and playing at forte. I have them play it until they're out of air, until they start to turn a little blue in the face and they have that natural decrescendo that's occurring. Let them focus on keeping the pitch there, because that's one of the challenges we face on any wind instrument, is when we're getting low on air, maintaining the pitch. What little adjustments do we make there? And once they can do that, we can talk about the playing softer part. I like to do this when I teach graduate woodwind methods classes. I get 25 music educators in a room and I ask them, how do you play soft on a wind instrument? That silence is what I always hear when I ask the question. Do I use less air? Yes, no. Specifically, do I blow slower air? Well, the best explanation that I've heard for being able to play with a good characteristic sound on a wind instrument at a softer volume is this idea that as we have and I'm not sure if I'm mirror image or not, so we're going to pretend that this is a diminuendo. If my volume is coming down, then the focus and intensity of my air, even though the volume isn't huge, is going to have to kind of come up to meet it. So I like to, when working with students, have them imagine a little bit more of an ooh sound than an O, but have very good focus when they're playing soft. Because if you try to get them to slow down their airspeed in order to play soft, things will go flat and blatty, and that's where we get that squawking sound that I'm sure everybody recognizes from their younger to intermediate students when they try to play softly, and everything kind of goes wah, and they get that widespread sound, and then it cuts in and out like a car that's about to stall. So maintaining the focus, even as we have a smaller volume of air, is important, but they're not going to be able to feel that until they spent some time doing long tones. Nothing fancy, just nice big forte long tones, and then mezzo forte long tones, and learning how to control that. Because it's admittedly, Lynne, chime in on this, it's one of the harder things to do for a while on the bassoon. For that matter, the low E's on Tchaik 6 are still scary for us, even in adult life. Being able to maintain at that soft dynamic level. But I think that's a good game plan for getting them there.
Yep. Definitely abdominal support. Absolutely. I mean, without that support, and my mentor teacher was an opera performer, and his dynamic range was from almost inaudible all the way up through filling up the Metropolitan Opera. So this was critical for him, was you must not even attempt to play softly without engaging not just the popular front six pack, but engaging 360 degrees of muscle, because we have so many muscles to help us with wind playing, and most people don't use them all.
Absolutely. The expansion is so big. I will frequently demonstrate by standing up and asking if the students, don't be polite. Do I get fatter when I take that breath in? I also ask them, do you notice that I get just as fat when I'm getting ready to play soft as when I get ready to play loud? It's the same big, full breath. I don't underinflate for playing pianissimo.
Great.
So.